Hey YouTube, it's your girl Chic from ChicSpeaks. This is a walk and talk with me during my evening walk. See if anyone comes in to join in. But it's just me on this evening walk. Earlier, if any of you caught my live, my husband walked and talked with me. We took a walk in the park, local park in our community. So that was nice. So if you haven't checked out that live, check out that live. You got to see and hear my husband, and that doesn't happen very often on this channel. So there's a lot going on, some things I just wanted to walk and talk about. So we'll see if anyone join in. Hello, welcome. Please make sure if you can, when you come in, like, share, subscribe. This is a walk and talk. Welcome. Where are you guys? Let me know where you're at. Please drop a comment. But I just want to talk about some things. Right before I left to go on my evening walk, it had hit the news that former President Trump was shot. So, well, I guess the bullet grazed him. So his ear was bleeding. He's okay. But the question is, was this an assassination attempt? Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else you call it. So, like I said, it's a lot going on. So everyone got to make sure you're safe. Take care of yourself. Now, one thing I found it interesting is my husband and I were watching the footage, the news clip play, the reaction of the people following hearing the gunshots. It was quite different. It was quite different. Going off of let's just say you didn't know what happened and you're just looking, let's just say take the sign, what they say, take the sound off, take the sound off of the video and just watch. You wouldn't have thought, at least judging by the crowd, that it was a shooting. And I think they said it was maybe like 8 rounds shot. But based off of the way the crowd responded, you wouldn't have thought that that's what was taking place, because it was quite different than other environments I've seen where there was gunshots and shooting, and how people responded, in particular people that look like me. So I'm like, this is different. It seemed like they were kind of focused on trying to see what happened, record with their phones. But that was kind of odd. But like I said, they're saying that he's okay. And the shooter, I think they're saying that he's no longer with us. So I guess following the gunshots, I guess the police, Secret Service, whoever was able to take him down. So they're saying the shooter is no longer with us, but I don't have any details on that just yet. So I'm sure within probably the next 24 hours, there's going to be more information coming about pertaining to what happened. Oh, yeah, it's loud. Let's not go down there. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in these streets. So it'll be interesting to see if what happened today, if what happened today will have an impact on the presidential election going forward, as far as, I guess, the people who start to speak out in regards to the candidate that they're supporting. It'll be interesting to see if more people who was just kind of sitting in the background say, hey, this ain't cool, I'm going to step to the front of the congregation. Like, I think this is all going to be very interesting because I was asking my husband, like, yo, like, when's the last time someone made an attempt to take out a president? So I think he's like, Reagan probably was maybe like the last one. And, you know, I was young then, so I was like, my guess is maybe he was president in like the 80s or something like that. So since then, I don't think anyone else has kind of made an attempt on taking out a president. And then, you know, Reagan, he said he was kind of shot in the arm or something like that. But we know Kennedy, they took him out, but Reagan was post-Kennedy. So it's been a really long time since someone has kind of went that far when it's come to trying to take out a president. And this might be the first time, and we were talking, that someone may have tried to attempt to take out a former president. So it's just a lot going on. It's just a lot going on. These are definitely interesting times, to say the least. But what they say, we just got to be vigilant, be on our P's and Q's, watch our front, back, sides as we go out here and be out here in these streets and get our walking. So this is what I'm doing, getting an evening walk in. The temperature is still like 90, 91, but the sun is starting to go down, so it does feel better, but it's still warm out. So I'm trying to stay cool while I'm out. But yeah, it's a lot going on, guys and gals. But prior to learning about all of that, I was looking at a video done by a content creator called Six the Goddess. Many of you may know who she is. She's pretty popular. I mean, she has maybe underneath 100,000 subscribers, but she's growing. I've followed her for, well, I don't know if I still follow her, but I've known of her for at least maybe about 3 years. So she has some interesting thoughts. Some might consider her a mean girl, but I find her to be kind of very direct. So she says a lot of things and shares a lot of sentiments that I have pertaining to women, physical fitness, presentation, how we present ourselves. So her delivery is quite different, but her messaging, I get it, and I, for the most part, kind of agree with it. I would say I agree with 90% of what she says as it pertains to just women and the importance of how we need to present ourselves or take care of our bodies and things like that. So I was listening to a video she put up, might have been her last one, and she was doing a review on this lady who was talking. She was on a panel with two other ladies and two guys. So it was 3 ladies, 2 guys. They were on the the ladies were the guests on the show. And so she was talking to the 2 guys. And so this particular lady, she was the larger lady of the 3 ladies. So she was like really emotional in her feelings, kind of like crying, I guess. And she's like, I don't understand why my body size has to impact my experience with dating. Like, why can't they just accept me for me? Why does my body, like, why does that matter? So the guys are like trying to explain to her why it matters, but she's so stuck in the emotion of feeling rejected for it's like her thought process is like, hey, this is who I am, take me as who I am, it is what it is, now let's go eat. Let's go on a date. And the guys are like, well, no, it doesn't work that way. These men that you desire, they have preference. Let me see. The word preferences, like they desire to have someone who's not who's not overweight. Let me see. They desire someone who's not overweight. So she's like, well, why? And they were like, well, it's no different than my guy right here, who he's 5'8", and you're like, I can't do nothing with you because you're too short. He was like, I'm 6'4", he's 5'8", You're saying that you can't do anything with him because he's too short. That's your preference. So what's the difference with someone saying, okay, well, I can't do nothing with you because you're too big? So she kind of, in her mind, wants to believe that it's different, that, him being short and being judged on being short should be different than her being judged on being a larger woman. So, like, she really couldn't understand it. She's like, I just don't understand, why they just can't take me for who I am. I never had these problems before. But is that really, she's saying she never had problems before with guys judging her based on her size. But to me, I'm like, well, is that really true? Because why are you here on this panel crying about your dating experience or whatever, if your dating experience has been positive where men has not rejected you? To me, that didn't make sense. It went against her argument. So I just bring that up to say that I think a lot of times women can get caught up in the part of what they want and completely dismiss the part of what is. What you want and what is don't always line up. It don't always line up. And to me, I personally feel like the most important thing is going to be what is, because what is what's going to drive your desire to change. When you become aware and recognize what is the situation, what are my results? Because we can stay in our feelings all day long about the rules of the game, the law, but at the same time, the rules are the rules, the laws are the laws. It is what it is. So what good does it do us to just sit in our feelings on the part of what is, or I'm sorry, the law, versus focusing on, okay, well, let me see how I can shift and make this thing work for me. For example, if the law, the rules from which you're seeing is the type of men that you desire or you want to ask you out, if that type of man is drawn to a woman that looks a certain way, to me, it makes sense to put more energy on trying to become that type of woman. Because you deciding to put energy on trying to change that other person and what their wants are, like, that's crazy, because you can't change people. At the end of the day, you can only control yourself. So to me, I view dating, I've said it before, I view dating kind of like shopping in a job market. So I've been married, October be 20 years. So I've been out the game for a long time, but at the same time, I've been surrounded by a lot of people who have been most people in my circle, they haven't been married for as long as me, or they're not married at all, or they've been married, they're divorced. So I've been hearing about the experiences of how the dating scene have been. So, and then I'm tapped in on the internet a lot, YouTube. So I listen to a lot of people talk. To me, it's a lot like the dating market. I mean, not the dating, like the job market. You research, you study it. Just like, if you're interested in becoming, let's say, a teacher or something, whatever, you study it. You decide, okay, what will it take for me to become that? What are the credentials? What type of education do I have to have? What kind of experience do I have to have? What do I have? How does my resume needs to look? You study it. When I think about dating, I think about it the same way. Like, I think about it in the same manner of like, okay, I'm interested in dating. This is the type of man that I desire. Let me study and see, okay, that type of man, typically what type of woman does he have on his shoulder or on his arm? Not shoulder, I'm sorry, arm. Like, what type of woman is he with? Like, aesthetically, is she typically, a fit woman? Is she someone who hangs out at certain places, runs in certain circles. You study it. So when you study that, then you know, like, okay, well, this is the blueprint of kind of like what it is that these type of men, like the type of men, these are the type of women that they're attracted to. They like a Southern Belle, whatever it is. You pay attention to that. And then you then try to see how you can fit into that. If those are some qualities or characteristics that you can adapt. So that's why I say I look at it a lot like a job market, because you can't, like, if you're going up for a job, you can't try to change the rules that that employer has or the requirements, right? You conform to it. You rise to the occasion. And I look at dating as like the same way. So what good does it do to sit in your feelings and complain or cry about the whys behind someone's preferences or requirements? Like, what does that do? To me, it's like a waste of time. Like, focus on, okay, well, if this man who makes this amount of money likes a woman who goes into the gym a lot, or, you know, maybe if he likes a woman who's, you know, a certain size, well, I guess, you know, you have to be real with yourself and ask yourself, okay, are any of those characteristics that I can acquire? Like, is it realistic for me to conform to that? Because it's not really necessarily about changing. It's about, like I say, I call it rising to the occasion. Like, okay, well, if they like a smaller woman, I got 30 pounds I know I can afford to lose. Can I just try to get that weight off and just see what it, you know, see how it can impact my experience? Because I have yet to hear a woman talk about losing weight and it not impacting their dating experience in some type of positive way. Even if it comes down to them having a greater pool or a better quality of pool, there's some type of way where they see improvement. And no, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the ring and someone's going to ask to marry you. But what I'm saying is that everything is about numbers. It's a numbers game. So if you're somebody who desire to get married, guess what? You have to start going on dates and meeting people. So that's where I say it's a numbers thing, because odds of finding someone who's good and you went on, let's just say, 50 dates in a year, that's going to increase your chances of finding one good one, say, if you went on 10 dates in a year. You see, that's why I say it's a numbers thing. So you have to increase your numbers, so therefore you can have more to filter through. But if you never get in the game, meaning that you don't even have any numbers to start with, meaning no one's asking you out on a date for you to even weed them out, like I say, you're not even in the game anymore. What are you doing? So a lot of times the weight part, that can be the part to just get you in the game, because there's a lot of women who aren't even in the game, meaning that they're not even getting asked out for dates. They're not even going out and about in the world, in their community, and someone's complimenting them. You know, they're just going about their business, you know, but that's it. But there's no one really checking for them that's trying to take them out on a date to get to know them. They're not having that type of experience. So to me, I consider that person, quote unquote, not in the game, because you haven't even gotten to the point to determine if someone is worthy or not, because hell, nobody ain't even approached you yet. So I say this to say that we have to be okay with getting out of our feelings and accepting what our reality is. Because we all know what our reality is. And you have to be truthful with what your reality is. And if your reality is no one's saying anything to you and you got extra weight on it, then how do you ignore the part of it potentially being an issue with your weight when you're noticeably overweight? You know, and then as I say, your experiences or your success rate is going to tell it. So you can sit and argue with me and say, well, no, the weight doesn't matter. But then in the next breath, tell me, well, yeah, no, I haven't had anybody ask me out on a date in a year. Okay, well, there you go. Because what I'm saying is speaking to actually what your experience is. So it's not about being mean or anything. It's about coming to a point where you face reality, and the reality is that you need to do something different in order to yield a different result. You can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different outcome. What they say, that's a definition of insanity. So what's the harm into trying something different? Why not take a chance and say, you know what, I'm gonna try this weight loss thing, or I got the extra coins, let me go ahead and try, joining a member, getting a gym membership, or hiring a personal trainer. What do you have to lose? Like, is what you want, like, so then we have to ask ourselves, am I willing to sit and not do anything and miss the opportunity of having what it is that I want, the life I want? Like, no, I wouldn't dare. I can't imagine letting a fear of losing weight or getting into the gym, working with a trainer. I just can't imagine letting something like that interfere with the chances of me meeting my person, if I know if I tweak these areas and improve in these areas that I can have a better life. Just like as I use the example with a job. And okay, you haven't really had good paying jobs, but there's an opportunity for you to, if you enhance your skills. So whether you take some classes, do an apprenticeship, something, the idea is, well, let me try to invest in myself for the purpose of improving my chances of success, or for success. Like, so what are you willing to do? Are you willing to bet on yourself? And I see so many women that will do that for their career faster than they would do it for their personal life. And it's mind-boggling to me. It's like, why can't you take that same energy? You can go hard for your career, but my thing is, why can't you take the same energy and do the same when it comes to your personal life, growth, development? Like, why not? So, it's unfortunate, but I guess, it's a thing, because it's a lot of women that are in that situation, to where I feel like if they shed some weight, they can see some changes when it comes to their dating experience. Yeah, it is what it is. So I come out here to show myself being physically active by moving. My exercise of choice is walking. So I come out here to show you what I do. And this is what I do to maintain. This is just what I do to maintain, because this is what makes me feel good. And this is also what contributes to me winning in life in areas that I feel are important to me. And that's going to be my relationship, my family. Like, those are things that I find important to me. And looking a certain way, maintaining a healthy weight, feeling good about myself. What they say, when you look good, you feel good. Like, it makes me feel good when I feel good about my appearance. Other people around me, family, friends, like they benefit from that, because I feel good about me. So I'm motivated. I want you to feel good about you. I want the love to go around. So I want to motivate other people to feel good about themselves. So that's what I do. But what we can't do is just sit in our feelings about our situation and not do anything about it. Like that, I don't know who that's ever helped. Like, that does nothing. So like I said, the woman was just boo-hoo crying. And it's just like, girl, like, what is that doing? You can't cry over the fact that somebody says that they don't want you. Like, get over it. You either move along until you find somebody who do, or put in the work to be that person that people seek. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself in a way to where you're the one that's sought after, to where you don't feel like you're having to be the one chasing. Because first of all, a woman should never be the one chasing after a man. It just shouldn't be that way. But become that person that when a man sees you, he quickly determines that you're somebody of a value. And one thing that Six to God has said that I do agree with, she said, looks aren't the sole thing that a woman's value is based on, but it is the number one thing. And I agree with that because I live by the ideology that a woman's beauty is her currency. And when I say beauty, I'm not necessarily talking about like your physical like features as far as like your nose, your like nothing like that. I'm just talking about like how you take care of yourself as far as your hygiene, your being clean, you know, your clothes, your hair, like keeping yourself together. That's the first thing that a person notices when they see you. They don't know that you're a nice person. They first are going to take notice of your physical appearance because men in particular are very visual. So they're going to first take notice of you, which is going to determine if they're attracted to you. From there, that's when the conversations start to see like, okay, is she more than just a pretty face or someone with a nice body? That's why the beauty part is the number one of many characteristics that men look for in women. It's going to be at the top. That's because that's the initial things that get the conversation going. So if you understand that and not be so sensitive about that fact, then you can get somewhere, you can get out your own way with trying to make some progress in your life and not be just stuck on, well, why don't he accept me for me? Just as you didn't want to accept that man who was 5'8" for him. It's the same thing. The difference between that man being 5'8" and you being overweight is that 5'8" is something he can't control unless he takes drastic measures and go to the doctor to have his limbs stretched. There was a guy on the internet, I remember doing that not that long ago. But someone who has issue with their weight, that's something that people work on every day and change. So they're not even in the same category, but how they are in the same category is that they both fall under a preference category. Someone may prefer a taller man just as someone may prefer a smaller woman. It's still a preference. So you can't get mad at someone else's preference, but want them to accept your preference. And I hear that a lot of times with women to where they'll have all these preferences, but they don't want the man to have the preference. So it's like, well, how does that work? You're saying that you want him to accept you for you, and you know, you're overweight, but you're not going to accept, let's just say, even him being overweight, or accept him having a certain skin complexion. Like, how does this work? Like, it's almost like I feel like a lot of times women feel as though they're the only ones who are allowed to have a preference, and the man can't. How fair is that? It's not fair. It's crazy. It's crazy. Preferences, what you want and what he wants, in order for a relationship to work, they have to line up in the middle, right? It can't be about just what you want, because you have to find someone who also wants you. So you have to give thought as to, okay, well, what does this man want? Because that's the only way it works. If it didn't work that way, all the women would have whatever man that they want because they would just focus on what it is that they want, and then they go get it. But clearly it doesn't work that way, because why? Men have wants and needs too. And it's like the women, I've heard so many women say, well, I know I'm a big girl and I don't really desire to put in work to really change what I look like, but I just can't do no overweight man. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I know it sounds crazy, but I just can't do it. And they just sit in that. Like, they don't acknowledge that they know it sounds crazy. They just laugh and be like, I know, as they continue to be in the dating market. So I'm somebody who points out how delusional of a person they sound like, or that they are, to even think that way. Because this way of thinking is why you're in the situation you're in. It makes no sense. And another thing that a lot of times women get mixed up is that because a man is coming through at night playing with them, they equate to, well, men still like me like this and like that. Okay, they're coming through at night, but that don't equate to they like you to where they trying to wipe you up or make you the main chick or take you out in public or appreciate you. That doesn't equate that. That's just saying, hell, a man is sleep with anything. That's just, hell, we all know that. So you can't judge it based off of that. You judge it based off of what type of man is treating you with full respect. What kind of man is doing that? Is it the type of man that you want to be with, or is it just some man that you're settling for who's down and out on their luck? And a lot of times a man who's down and out on their luck, in particular one who maybe just got out of the, the jail or prison, they're down and out on their luck. And so they'll be with a woman who, if their money was right or if they was on their feet, they wouldn't be with. So they'll be with that woman who's a larger woman, that woman who have a lot of kids, who's getting the government. They'll do that because they're in need. So a lot of times women will get that twisted and think that that man is genuinely there for them, but no, they're just there for a season until they get themselves together. You're just the come up chick for the time being. And that's what we got to watch out for, to not find ourselves in that position of being the come up chick. Because there are so many women who have that story of being the come up chick, where they held a man down, and then as soon as he got where he was trying to go, got him a car, something as simple as that, where they finally, when he got him a car, he stopped coming home. Or when I gave him, let him hold the keys to my car, he had some other woman or somebody else in the car, in the passenger seat, or even driving it. So my thing is, when you have some type of, what's the word? What am I looking for? Standards, that's my word. When you have standards for yourself, when you see signs of someone using you or being there when you know deep down if their situation was different, you wouldn't even entertain it. You wouldn't even entertain it. And I feel like every woman in any relationship they're in, they should be able, and they know the answer to this, but we as women should be able to assess our current situation, whether it's our husbands, boyfriends, but we should be able to assess our situations and answer the question of whether or not we feel like, if that person's situation, when I say situation, financial situation, was different, if it was better, would they still be with us? We should know that answer. If your answer is, nah, I think he'd be doing something there, then there you go. There you go, because we all should have that answer. He should be able to answer that even about us. So we all know our partners. It's just, are we in denial about what we're working with? And a lot of us are in denial about our current situations because the truth of the matter hurts. So we rather fool ourselves, make up some story in our head as to why our situation is what it is, when in reality, you know the real deal. You know that he out there running the you know this already. But for whatever reason, you're dealing with it. And you're lying to people, you're lying to yourself about what's going on, but deep down, you know what the deal is, and it's rooted in self-esteem. Your self-esteem is like in the gutter, and you just don't know how to move or do something differently. That's a problem. And I find that a lot of times, women who aren't happy with their physical appearance find themselves in these type of situations more often than those who are happy with their physical appearance. Now, you're going to have those who look aesthetically, attractive and all of that and have issues. But what I'm saying is that I feel, as far as what I've seen, is that the numbers of women who aren't completely happy with how they look from the physical, I've seen them in worse situations. And I say, and a lot of times I feel like they continue to stay in these bad situations because they feel like they can't do better. So it's just like, well, I got these kids, who gonna want me? I got this extra weight on, who gonna want me? You got all this going on, so you settle, and guess who knows that's how you feel? That's that person you're with. They know this is how you feel, because a lot of times people who don't feel good about themselves, they'll vocalize it. I hear a lot of women vocalize their insecurities about. I don't really hear men do it all like that, but women will vocalize the insecurities that they have about themselves. I hear them say it to other women, and I know that they're saying it to their men too. That man knows where his woman's insecurities are, and they will play on that. They will play on that. So we got to be careful. So get yourself to a point to where you feel good about you and you're doing it for you. So therefore, whether that person is in your life or not, you're still going to keep it up because what you're doing, your changes, your growth is being done for you. Because when you do it for you, it's more likely that you'll stick to it versus if you're doing it for someone else. When as soon as that person leaves, you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm not doing this anymore. What do I need to do it for anymore? They're gone. Well, that means you never was doing it for the right reasons to begin with. So that's a problem. So yeah, we just have to do better. And I feel like we're all capable of doing better if we want to. But everything starts, it's a mindset. Everything starts in the mind. Once the mind gets to that better place, then it starts to show through your actions as far as like your growth, because you start to move differently because you're thinking differently. So, and then when you move differently, you start to get different results. You see how this works? You start to get different results. So remember, it starts in the mind. We have to have positive thoughts about ourselves. We have to think positive about ourselves. We got to let the negative talk go. And when you let that negative talk go, then if someone else comes into your life speaking negative, you're going to be able to dismiss it easier because you would have built yourself up. So it'll be like a shield. Like if someone, says something negative, like it'll bounce off you. Because I always say, if you know who you are, can't no one tell you otherwise. So no one can come along and tell me who I am or say anything because I already know who I am. But people who don't know who they are, somebody can easily come into their life and tell them who they are. And guess what? They'll believe it. And that's scary because they'll tell you anything and then you going along with it. And now here it is. Now you in this relationship for however long, and you don't know if you're going to come, and you don't know who you are. You just know who they told you are, which were lies. So earlier in my live this morning, I talked about Megan Good's movie. I think it's called Divorce in the Black, the one she did with Tyler Perry. It's a really good movie, but I urge any of you who haven't seen it, both men and women, but women, definitely you, I urge you to watch it because it just shows so many examples of these things that I'm speaking on, how it can play out, where how somebody can start telling you who you are and you completely forget who you are. And then if you're blessed enough to have people in your life who love and care for you, they're able to remind you who you are. Because sometimes we have to be reminded who we are because we can forget. We can forget, but it's important to not push away those who care about us most because you may need them because those may be the ones who remind you who you are. And once they remind you who you are, guess what? You're back in the game. That's where the growth comes in because it's just like, oh, I done woke up now. I was asleep for all them years, but look, your girl is woke now. And sometimes we got to wake up. And that's why I'm an advocate as far as with ladies. I know a lot of times it's hard to, find good, solid friends. And I ain't saying you got to have a lot of them. But I feel like you need to have at least one or two riders in your life because when those tough times come and you need to be reminded of who you are, that's when they come in. That's what they're there for. And so that movie just really shows that the importance of, having solid riders in your life because they're there when you need them most. And it can help get you through these tough times that you ordinarily wouldn't have thought that you can get through. So definitely watch that movie. I may talk about specifics down the lines that pertains to the movie. I just don't, I know it's pretty early, so I don't want to, do spoilers, but it came out maybe like Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. So definitely check it out because my husband and I, we talked about it and we both had opinions and things on it. And, he said, he wouldn't mind like having a live discussion with us kind of talking about some details and things that happened in the movie because with him being a man, speaking from the male's perspective, he can share some things. And, me being a woman, I was, speaking to him about some things. So, that was, we had great dialogue about the movie. We watched it together last night. So that was our Friday night couples thing that we did with just he and I without the kids. We just kind of got comfortable and watched the movie. So I urge you to do the same. Watch the movie, Megan Good's movie. I think it's Divorce in the Black. And just, there's a lot of gems, a lot of things to pick up from it. I know there's people out there talking about it. People don't always think that Tyler paints the black man in the best light. And I'm not going to even argue with that. But what I will say is that within his movies, there's still always some important gems, some important messages to be taken away from them. And this one was no different. So my suggestion is to not get focused on, okay, because there's multiple men inside of the movie. It's not just, and even like, let's just say if we think of like the white movies, what do you call that? You're going to what do you call the villain, the antagonist? Like, you're going to have somebody who has a different energy than somebody else. And typically in the white movies, it can easily be all white cast. You got the hero white and the villain white. Like, so to me, when I look at as far as with Tyler Perry's movie, it's the same thing. If he got a black cast, you're going to have the hero black and you're going to have a black guy black, So it's just that, Tyler does a lot of things, I guess, dealing with relationship based. But I don't know. As I say, there was a lot of messaging in the movie that I think people shouldn't kind of look over. So just focus on that part, ladies, ladies, focus on the part of just, the importance of, having your family surrounded around you and your friends during your time of need, because it can really save you, sometimes save your life. Like, so don't just isolate yourself, because a lot of times when women get in these poor relationships, they'll kind of stop talking to like their close friends and family. And a lot of times people feel like the person they're with has isolated them from their loved ones. And so it's important you don't do that, because when you do that, you don't have access like I'm talking about as far as with getting those supports and things like that from these people who love and care for you. You want to keep access to them. You want to still continue to have access to your loved ones. So Megan, even though she was in the dysfunctional relationship, she still kept her ties to her parents and her best friend, very close and strong. So she was very thankful for that. So I urge you all to do the same thing. What they say, it's not really about the number of supports. It's more going to be like the quality. So, a lot of us can't have a lot of people. I have quite a bit of family who my supports come from. And I have, some friends, but I got a pretty good circle. But I know some people, they may feel like they don't have anyone, or they may feel all they have is that person they're with in a relationship. And that's the very one who's tearing them down. So, that has to be a bad situation if you're only one person that you feel like you have is the very person who has you feeling the worst. Like, it shouldn't be that way, but I understand that is the case for a lot of people in their relationships. But definitely check out the movie. And let's see, what else? My live, like I said, I did a live earlier this morning with my husband. We talked about some things, some other topics dealing with Megan Good and Jonathan, her boyfriend, and Michael Ealy. So check that out. We shared opinions on that situation. Hopefully her movie is doing well this weekend. I know when my husband and I watched it last night, it was the number 2 movie in the United States. So it's on Prime movie. So if you have Prime, then you can watch the movie for free. So, but yeah, we just got to take care of ourselves. We just, mind, body, and soul, just got to take care of ourselves. And that is something that, as we see with Megan, even as she's going through all these different changes in her relationships, we see that she's still taking care of herself. Some people argue that she doesn't look that good right now and she looks stressed or small. Like, I don't necessarily see that as far as on her body. But to me and all, she's not someone I would put in a category as who have let themselves go. I wouldn't put that on her at all. So I think she's still doing good, doing well in the area of taking care of herself. And because she's doing that well in the area of taking care of herself, I feel like that it's making it makes it easier for her when it's time for her to move around and experience and date different men, because she's continued to take care of herself, so she don't feel like her options, even though like what she's in her 40s, she's around, I think she's 41. So even though she's in her 40s, she still looks good to where she can still, I feel like, date the caliber of man that she chooses to date. Now, some people argue, okay, Jonathan Majors really is beneath her. That's for her to determine. My thing is, I feel like she's at a point in her life to where she has handled her business in all areas to where she has options. And that's what it's about. I like to talk to you ladies about having options, positioning yourself to have options. It's nothing like having options. It's a beautiful thing. Have options, and when you're in a situation to have options, everything just feels better, just in anything we do, whether it's job opportunities, choosing clothes, dresses, shoes. Like, we like options. So it's the same with dating. We want to have options. So I feel like the better we take care of ourselves, the better package we present, the better options we have. Yeah. So that's what I have. Please like, share, subscribe. I'm growing this channel. My first goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers. And, it's just up from there. So I'm just trying to be more consistent out here and talk to you all. You all seem to like collaborations or things that I may do when I'm talking to my husband. So I may try to engage him more when our schedules line up to be a part of some things and to get, he's interested in giving his thoughts on things. Because, I'm just a woman, so I'm out here giving my thoughts as a woman. But men think differently than women. And that's another thing. I think a lot of times women, they don't really, I don't know if they don't want to accept it or they just put it in the back of their mind, but it's just like they just dismiss it. I feel like a lot of times women dismiss the thoughts and feelings of a man, or acknowledging that they move and operate differently than us. And I don't necessarily feel like it's always in a negative how they operate differently than us. They just operate differently. It can be subjective. They just operate differently. So I think if once we come to accept that, and like I said, not be so focused on changing the rules, like accept that this is what it is. What did they have that book, Women are from Venus, men are from Mars, or something like that. Like, that's true. Men and women are like completely different species. I've heard a doctor once say that when you look at the male and the female brain, they're like two different species. Like, that's how different we are. And it makes sense to me because of how we think differently. So I would say some years ago, I started to accept the fact that, like, people think differently. Even some women, they're going to think, you have a left brain, right brain, like that stuff is real. People think differently. So I think once we start to accept that people just think differently and not get so focused on trying to change them or change that, I think we'll fare out better. I think far too many of us put too much energy on trying to change people, things, and we can't. And we exert so much energy that can be put someplace else because we're trying to change something or someone versus putting that energy in ourselves and changing ourselves, improving ourselves. And I've found over the years that when I just focus on myself more, and even within my marriage, I've been with my husband over 20 years. We've been married about these 20 years, together 24. I've found that when I want to try to change or adjust, or when I have wanted to try to change something about him, or I just get into myself and focus on myself, on how I can be a better version of myself or improve myself and let him be. And then as I do that, I just watch him do what it is that he wants to do. And a lot of times it's just like, wow, okay, I like that, because, I stepped back and I let him figure out like what his interests are versus trying to find an interest for him. I just wanted to see him kind of have something, an interest or something that's, outside of the day to day with family stuff, daytime job, but just to have something else. So I just, stepped away from trying to focus on trying to have, trying to have conversations with him about the change, and just focused on me. And now it's like, now it's like he'll come to me. Oh yeah, I have this interest right now, and I don't know where this interest just came from, but I've been doing this, and he's excited about it. So it makes me be like, wow, like that's great. I just want to see you do something that I can support you in, because he's always supporting me in whatever I got going on. Cause I'm one of them people that have their hands in all kinds of stuff. And he's always there to support me. And I've always been like, man, I want to start supporting you in some things, because I'm a very ambitious person. And he's not really like that. He's, one of those, he gets stuck in whatever it is that he's interested in, and he just tunnel vision and just only focuses on that. Whereas me, my head is on swivel. I'm looking at all kinds of different things. So there's been times where I wanted him to kind of be more like that. But I had to ask myself, like, is that really what I want? How crazy would our life be if he was like that? If we both were like that, just trying to focus on all these different things. Like, so I stopped focusing on the why he's not more like me, and accepted that he's different. This is how he is, to where, like I say, now he's identifying those things that he has interest in, and I'm there, as a support, like, oh, wow, that's great. I can see the excitement that he has when he's discovered and learning something new. Kind of like how it is with me. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel, figure out, okay, what works, what doesn't work. What do people like? So now he has his new interests that he happened to do all that with, So we're both, have our head into something that's kind of outside of each other, but we're focused on some projects. We'll call them projects that could, benefit us all, benefit the family, projects that can result in, income, increased income, things like that. But we both got our own things. So that's another thing that's important in relationships. It's okay to have something separate going on. It's okay. And a lot of times we'll just wrap all of our attention into our person. We'll wrap our attention into our person, and then we don't focus on something that may capture our interest and have us excited about something. So then when you just focus on that person may start to feel like they're crowded, because you're in their space and they can't breathe. How many of us have been in situations where you've been with someone and you felt like you can't breathe, like their world was wrapped up in you? Or you've been that person to where you're wrapped up into them and you feeling like they're putting their elbows up because you're doing too much, or your feelings are hurt because they're saying you're doing too much. And it just comes down to space. We need to give one another space to just have something outside of the relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. To me, I feel like it's a healthy balance to have something going on outside of the relationship, because you can meet up in the middle and talk about what it was that what you were doing when you guys had time apart. So it's okay. Find something that fulfills you, that gets you excited. And a lot of times that's attractive to someone who's interested in you, when they see you got something going on that you're excited about. They want to know more. Okay, well, tell me about it, So, what are you excited about? What gets you moving? What gets you going? What has you motivated? What do you have going on outside of your relationship? Because I don't think anyone's whole life should just be their relationship. I think you should have other things going on too. I think we all should, man, woman, I think we all should have other things going on outside of our romantic relationships? What do you have going on? If you don't have anything going on, what are your interests? What's something that you can start up that don't involve that other person? You know, they can participate if they want to, but it's something that it's your thing. And you may invite them to participate in your thing from time to time, but at the end of the day, this is your thing. What is your thing? I challenge you to identify your thing. Find something that can be your thing. And then if you have a situation where you and your partner, your significant other, you feel like you guys don't really do enough together because you guys are so busy doing your own thing, find something that you can do together that can become the thing you two do together. You know, my husband and I both have been exploring wanting to learn pickleball. So today when we were out after we did our walk at the park, check out the live I did earlier, he and I did with our walk in the park. And, you know, we talked about pickleball and we seen people playing it. I saw some people in the neighborhood yesterday playing it. So we bought some rackets and balls and stuff. So that's gonna be our thing. So he didn't want me to pay to get trainers and stuff. He was like, nope, you know, he's naturally athletic. So he was like, I know how to play. Y'all, in his mind, but this is how he approaches everything. He always has this mind of he can do anything. He's always been that way. And so he's like, I can play, you know, like I'll be your trainer. I'll show you how to do it. So you guys might end up seeing some videos and things with me capturing moments of, you know, him playing maybe with the kids or, you know, trying to learn. But he's like, you know, he's going to teach me how to play pickleball. So that's going to be a sport, you know, something that we'll do together. So find something that you can do by yourself. And then something, if you don't have it already, that you can do with your partner. You know, because it'll then allow for you guys to kind of come together. But just figure it out. You can do it. Just figure it out. But, you know, we just want to stay engaged. You want to just stay engaged with one another, with your partner. You know, spice things up if you need to. A lot of us, you know, been with our persons for a really long time. Let me see. I have a comment. Let me see. Miss Raquel Ross, hello. You said, I recently added gardening to my list of hobbies. All of a sudden, guess who wanted to grow cucumbers? I was so happy he got interested in it. His thing is his motorcycles. We do the gym together. That's what I'm talking about. I've said before, thanks for joining, Miss Raquel Ross. Thank you for joining. Don't know if you're a subscriber of my channel. If not, I appreciate if you did subscribe. But I've told ladies on this channel before, I don't know if you've heard me talk about it, that a good way to get attention from your partner is to start doing your own thing. What I notice is that when I get into me and do my own thing and I'm focused on development, me and doing whatever I'm doing, my husband comes in, he comes in closer because he wants to be a part of that. It's just like, oh, well, what are you doing? You know, and it's crazy. So instead of spending time worrying about, well, what he doing, get into yourself. Like it really works. It's like it's the opposite of, like, sometimes a person will just want to cling to their partner, or they may start feeling insecure and they're probing, doing all that. Don't do that. When you start feeling a certain type of way or insecure, whatever, get into yourself. Because, and I've said it, I've experienced it, when I've gotten into myself, that's when his attention starts to come into me. It works. It's something about a person seeing that you're seeing that you just working on you and you're developing you, and they really get, I don't know if it's just they get turned on and excited about it. I don't know, but listen, like, it works. So I tell ladies, don't get to probe and worrying about what he doing. Get into yourself. Next thing you know, he gonna be like, well, which Miss Rickett, Miss Ross, what are you doing over there? What you doing? Let me try to do some of that. Like it really works. And this is coming from someone who's been married 20 years, being my husband 24 years. It works. That's why I say, get into you. Get into you. Don't be worrying about what he got going on. Get into you. Get into you. That's what you do. and just try it. Just try it. So that's awesome that you have something you do. You got something, he has something he does, and then y'all got y'all thing y'all do together. Like, that's what I'm talking about. And it sounds like you guys have a healthy situation going on because of that. That's what I like to call balance. That's real balance right there. And I think a lot of times people, when it comes to this relationship thing, it's so many people out here who have opinions on the relationship thing, but they don't have really that experience like that to really speak on it, to talk about these things that I'm talking about, because they haven't been with someone as long. They haven't been married, or they weren't married that long. They don't have children, or they don't have children. Like, they're talking about a lot of things that they don't really have that real life experience in. And so many people are listening to them versus them listening to the people who have lived it and who can really tell you how it really is. So many people talk about marriage and they've never been married. They're not married, but they got so much to say on the topic. And so many people are listening to them. And to me, it's just a conversation that's going in circles with no real solutions, because to me, I feel like they're listening to the wrong people. They're listening to the wrong people. So I like to really speak from experience, like, okay, y'all, I live this. I'm true to this. What they say, like, I'm true to this. Like, I live this. This is my life. I can talk to you about, the marriage and the importance of keeping yourself up and trying to keep things fresh and keeping his interest. Him seeing that you got things going on for yourself and not being focused and just caught up in what he got going on. Him appreciating that you care about what you got going on and keeping yourself up, because you are a representation of him. So when you move a certain way, that represents him. And he's proud of that. He's proud to be able to say, that's me, that's mine. And that's what you want. And us ladies, we want the same thing, coming from our man as well. So it's a two-way. We can't think one-sided. We got to think from both sides. If you want something nice to look at, you want somebody to treat you nice, you don't think that they want the same? Like, it's a give and take in this. And a lot of people don't understand that a relationship is give and take. That's where, like, the 50-50 can come in. It's not all about the money. It's about we both meeting up in the middle. We both been willing to do our part and not looking for one person to do this. Like, you come together as a team and you just do what needs to be done. And there may be times when one person is in a situation to do more than the other. And then things may change to where that other person becomes in the situation to be able to do more than what that other person was doing. Because life, it's fluid. Like, things aren't always the same. So when I hear this talk about 50-50 and all of that, it's so crazy, because y'all know that wasn't talk that anybody who's in a marriage 20 plus years ago that wasn't a part of a conversation that we were having when we were dating. That never came up. Who's the prize? 50-50. That never came up. And it's just crazy that a lot of these things that's heavy topic pertaining to relationship, it's like it's not even what gets you through a relationship. That's the crazy part. It's like people are having conversation, arguments about stuff that don't even matter like that. Like, they're focused on the wrong things. The main thing that they need to be focused on is the communication piece. That's like the number one part in a relationship, is you got to be able to effectively communicate with one another. Because if you can't do that, y'all doomed. I've been telling that just for years when I would meet people and they learn how many years my husband and I have been married, and they'll be like, oh, well, what advice can you give? And he and I always go back to communication, the importance of communication, because that is the basis for everything. That's the basis for everything, y'all. Not no 50-50, I'm the prize and all that. When you're in a relationship, you're a prize to one another. Like, it don't go one way just because I'm the woman. Oh, I'm the pride. Like, I don't move. I don't think that way. I look at it as though he and my husband are a blessing to one another. So we treat one another as such and we show up for one another as such. It's never a conversation. I've never had a conversation about who's the prize, 50-50. Like, you just do what needs to be done. You do what needs to be done. So I urge you all to really be mindful of who you listen to. Check their resume. Are they qualified to be talking to you about certain things? What are their experiences? And people who haven't been married, yes, they can have an opinion about marriages from whatever, but you got to take into an account what type of experiences that person who you're talking to has had. Like, you can't ignore that. You just have to, like, take that into account. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't listen to people. I'm just saying you have to take into an account the messenger, the qualifications of a person. That's just like with anything. Like, I equate dating to a job. You know, you're interested in the job and you want to learn how to be a mechanic. Are you listening to somebody who's a school teacher by trade versus someone who's a mechanic by trade? You know what I'm saying? It's just using common sense, discernment. Like we just got to do that more. And I think now it's just like everybody's just talking about everything. And it's just like, okay, what are we doing? Are we really one solutions, or it's just about being on a panel and just talking about relationships? Like, and, you know, I used to be a part of discussions like that with people on the internet. And then I just got to realize and seeing that, to me, it was just that, just conversation. And really, I didn't feel like it was about solutions, real life solutions. So I kind of fell back from that topic with talking to people like about that, as far as like on the internet, or it being like the basis of my conversation. You know, I'll kind of talk about it. I want to lead more so with the importance of, being fit and things like that. Like, I want to lead with self-health, presenting the best version of yourself. Like, that's kind of what I want to lead with, more so than the relationship part, because I feel like everything else will fall into place when you take care of yourself. I think when when we start taking care of ourselves, feeling good about, how we look, what we're giving, then I think that, everything else will kind of fall into line, and we'll start to get better results in like other aspects of our life, as whether it's career, relationship. We'll just start to, have different experiences. So I think that's why I really believe that, how someone looks, like, it really plays a part in how they feel about themselves. It's just the way it is. Most people feel better about themselves when they feel like they look better, when they feel like they're presenting, their presentation is better. Just like, how when someone may feel better when a guy may put a suit on, or a lady put her dress and her heels on. It's just something about when you look good, you feel good. You're going to walk different. You're going to step different. It's just different. So when you're showing up different, a lot of times it results in us getting different experiences, having different experiences. And, that just impacts all aspects of our lives. So I want to kind of more so focus on that. That's why on here, this channel, it's about like putting your best foot forward, taking care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. So therefore, every other aspect of your life, it can kind of line up, with that, work from that angle versus the angle first of the relationship. And I think or what a lot of people preach is so much focus on the relationship part versus the personal, like, development part. And I think that's the wrong way to do it, because a lot of people who are messed up are just linking up with one another. Like, it's like people aren't healing and getting themselves together before getting in situations, and it's just creating entire messes out here. And y'all, we see it, we read about it. It is what it is. Like, do it make sense? Miss Raquel Ross, like, do it do it make sense? Like, am I speaking facts? Like, it's just, you can see it. It's we just got to move differently. And when you see the common theme of the people who have all this madness going on in their life, it's because what I'm saying is like, it's more focused on that relationship end versus the other end with that self-development end. And I think we need to flip it and start working from that self-development end, and then everything else kind of fall into place. So that's just my little 2 cents, what I feel like kind of what's going on, and really what could make a difference. So that's what I'm out here, I'm about, with kind of speaking from that angle. Because I think it's more people speaking from the other angle, and I don't think as a collective it's really getting us anywhere. I don't think it's getting us anywhere. So, like, what I say, let's try something different. So, I'm out here, trying to try something different. And I'm just showing you y'all what I do. Like, you can do what you want to do. I'm just showing you what I do, because I get asked a lot, what is it that you do? How do you do this? How do you do that? So, I'm like, well, let me do a better job with documenting it, putting it on, video, so I can just refer some, people to my channel, and you can see like what my life looks like. What are some things that I do? I'm a married woman of 20 years, 3 kids, and I just take care of myself. I try not to stress. Like, I'm just I'm just trying to do me, and I feel like when I focus on doing me, when it comes to my children, my husband, like, they're all good and they're all taken care of, because it starts with me, and I can't be nothing, no strength, no nothing for nobody else if I'm not all of that for myself. What they say on the airplane, when things start going left, you got to protect yourself. You got to put the mask and do yourself first before you turn and do the neighbor. It's the same thing, I'm over here caring and taking care of me, so therefore I can care and take care of my family. And then now on YouTube, you all are extension of that, and I'm trying to just put in the atmosphere, positive vibes, to tell you all that you too can do the same things, that I do. And, these are just some things I do, and you just find what works for you. And you might find something different that works for you, but I'm just on here to motivate you to find something. Find your thing. What is your thing? Miss Raquel Rose, you said, from hurt, it is not. I agree. Yeah, it's just like, find your thing. Whatever your thing is, just find it, identify it. Whether it's gardening, whether it's going to the gym, motorcycling, whatever, find your thing. I have my thing, my husband has his thing, and then we have what we try to do together. So that's all. I mean, I just call it balance. And I think if we all focus on balance more, instead of just putting our energy and focusing on what the other person's doing, I think we can get better results. At this point, like, what do we have to lose? I don't think we have anything to lose. So I think just trying something different. Um, Miss Raquel Ross, you said 17 years, July 21st. That's awesome. Happy anniversary. It's coming up. My anniversary is October 1st, so that'll be 20 years. So that's great. And just like I do, it's not many people putting up numbers like that these days. And as far as with being married, and I think it has a lot to do with just social media and what's been presented out there as far as what relationships look like, relationship goals. And you can probably contest that a lot of what's being put out there isn't the real deal, or it's nothing like what it looked like for us 17, 20 years ago when we got with our partners. It was completely different. It was more of an organic experience. You didn't have the internet or the social media where people knowing everything that you got going on, or you trying to compare what you got going on to what somebody overseas got going on or in another state got going on. We were starting out our relationships during times to where all we knew was what we seen with our eyes. Those were our only examples. What we saw with our eyes and what we saw in a sitcom with actors and actresses. There was no reality TV. So today we got all these other ways that we can judge relationships, and a lot of it is phony, it's false, it's not real, it's all of that. And unfortunately, people don't have the discernment to understand that. They think what they're seeing is real, and it's not. And the people who are presenting it know it's not. You don't know it's not, but I know it's not, because I'm in a real relationship. Miss Raquel Rose, you're in a real relationship. So people like us can tell, thank you. People like us can tell that, those are lies. That's not true, because we're living it. And so that's why it's important to talk to people who are actually living out what it is that you're trying to achieve. And people who are living out what you're trying to achieve, they probably don't have the large following, because it's all about popularity. People just want to kind of listen to or go where who's popular. It's not about the right, really. It's about, well, who got the most followers, who got the most clicks, who's got the most views. But again, as I talk about us flipping the script, and if we go from that angle to, well, let's listen to or see who has the results. That part, who has the results. Let's talk to who has the results. And a lot of us aren't doing that. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't have access to even talk to people, say, in real life, who have the results, because they didn't see it. But because of the internet, there are good aspects of the internet. And one aspect of an internet is that there are people out here on the internet who do have the good results that you can tune into. But you got to look at it from that angle of, okay, I'm going to tune into this person because they have the results, and not focus on their popularity. So everything is a mindset. We have to just change how we think about things. And then, we just got to sit back and just, see the change, see God do his work, God do his thing. We just got to pray about it. What he say, faith with no works. So you got to put that work in. You can have faith of better days, but you also got to put work in to work towards those better days as well. So I had a lot to say. Thanks for joining me on my evening walk. Please, if you haven't done so already, like, share, subscribe. Make sure your notification bells are on. I jump on here. As of late, I've been kind of coming out here during my walks, during my morning walk or my evening walks, because I try to get it in. And, this is just my way of taking care of myself. So I encourage you all to find your thing to do to take care of yourselves. So until next time, I'm Chic. I'm out. Peace. Good night.